The conference room smelled like disappointment and old coffee. I sat at the polished table, watching my father's business partner, Vincent Caldwell, shuffle through papers he'd already memorized. This was theater, and we both knew our roles. After careful consideration, Vincent intoned, his gray eyes avoiding mine. The board has decided to go in a different direction for the VP of Development position. My father shifted uncomfortably beside him. He'd built Caldwell Associates from nothing, bringing Vincent in as a partner when I was still in elementary school. Now, 20 years later, Vincent controlled enough of the board to block any decision he didn't like. The position I've been effectively doing for 2 years, I said quietly. Without the title or compensation, Vincent added with a smile that didn't reach his eyes, which is why we're promoting Harrison. He has the gravitas we're looking for. Harrison, Vincent's nephew, fresh from his MBA, who couldn't tell a PL from a grocery list. Some people, Vincent continued, finally meeting my gaze, are meant to be excellent supporters. Others are meant for leadership. There's no shame in recognizing which category we fall into. My father's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. He'd been saying nothing for years as Vincent slowly pushed me aside, favoring his own relatives and allies. The man who'd taught me everything about business couldn't protect me from his own partner. I understand, I said, standing. Thank you for the clarity. Vincent's eyebrows rose, surprised by my calm acceptance. He'd expected anger, maybe tears, something he could point to later as evidence of my emotional unsuitability for leadership. You're taking this well, he observed. That's the kind of professional attitude we like to see in support roles. I gathered my proposals, the same ones Harrison would present as his own next week, and headed for the door. Olivia, my father finally spoke. We should talk later, Dad, I said. I have some things to take care of. What I had to take care of was emptying my desk, saving important files to personal drives, and making copies of every client contact I'd cultivated over the years. Not to steal, I wasn't Vincent, but to remember, to learn from. That night, in my studio apartment that Vincent loved to mention as evidence of my modest ambitions, I opened my laptop and started typing. The business plan had lived in my head for 3 years, growing every time Vincent blocked another advancement, every time he forgot to include me in important meetings, every time he told clients I was James's daughter. She helps out with the little things. Nexus Enterprises, a development firm focused on everything Caldwell Associates ignored: sustainable building, community partnerships, innovative financing models that didn't squeeze every penny from buyers, the opposite of Vincent's philosophy. My phone buzzed. Sarah Chen, my college roommate who'd become a venture capitalist, heard about the promotion BS. You ready to stop playing their game? I'd been venting to Sarah for years, but always ended with I can't leave my father's company. Now I typed, yes, I need $2 million to start. Her response was immediate, sent you my calendar, bring the plan. 6 months, that's all it took. 6 months of 18-hour days, of pitches in coffee shops and boardrooms, of calling every contact who'd ever said if you ever go out on your own. I incorporated Nexus quietly, using my mother's maiden name, Morgan, for the paperwork, found office space in the same business district as Caldwell Associates, close enough to be convenient for the 3 senior developers who jumped ship to join me. You sure about this? Asked Robert Kim, the first to resign from Caldwell. Vincent's going to go nuclear. Let him, I said, signing leases that would have terrified me a year ago. He was right about one thing: some people aren't meant for certain roles. He just got confused about which ones. The exodus started slowly, a developer here, a project manager there, always people Vincent had overlooked or undervalued. They brought knowledge, contacts, and most importantly, intel about Caldwell's upcoming bids. We didn't steal, that would be Vincent's move. We simply competed. Every time Caldwell bid on a project, Nexus was there with a better offer, more sustainable, more community-focused, more profitable in the long run, if you looked past quarterly earnings. We're losing bids. I heard through the grapevine my father had called Vincent to some new firm called Nexus. Probably unsustainable, Vincent had replied. These startups burn bright and flame out. We'll acquire them in a year when they're desperate. A year. I marked it on my calendar with a smiley face. The Industry Leadership Summit was the Super Bowl of commercial development. Every major player attended, deals were struck over bourbon, and reputations were made or destroyed over 3 days at the Ritz-Carlton. I registered Nexus as a platinum sponsor, the same level as Caldwell Associates. It cost a fortune, but Sarah's investors understood the value of perception. You're going to see him. Sarah warned as we reviewed the attendee list. You ready for that? Vincent Caldwell, scheduled to moderate a panel on traditional values in modern development. Code 4, How to Squeeze Maximum Profit While Talking About Community. I'm counting on it, I said. The summit's opening reception was a sea of suits and carefully managed small talk. I moved through it like a ghost, recognizable but changed. The little helper from Caldwell Associates had been replaced by someone who signed 8-figure deals before breakfast. Olivia? A familiar voice stopped me. Harrison, Vincent's nephew, my replacement. He looked older, grayer, like the job was eating him alive. I heard you were working somewhere? Something like that. I smiled. How's the VP position treating you? His laugh was hollow. It's challenging. Your father asks about you. I'm sure he does. I spotted Vincent across the room, holding court with old guard developers. Excuse me, Harrison, networking to do. I didn't approach Vincent. Not yet. Instead, I worked the room's edges, talking to the people he ignored, young developers, sustainable architects, community activists who'd snuck into the corporate event, the future, while he focused on the past. Ms. Morgan, a summit organizer, appeared at my elbow. We're ready for your keynote tomorrow. Keynote? The voice cut through cocktail chatter like a blade. Vincent stood 3 feet away, his face cycling through confusion and recognition. I think there's been a mistake. The keynote is split between 2 speakers this year, the organizer explained. Mr. Caldwell, you're presenting on traditional development models. Ms. Morgan will follow with the future of sustainable development, back to back. For contrast. I watched Vincent process this. Morgan, the name clicked visibly behind his eyes. Olivia? His voice actually cracked. You're Morgan? Nexus Enterprises? Some people are meant for leadership, I quoted back to him. Others are meant to watch. Thank you for helping me recognize which category I fall into. The next morning, Vincent went first. His presentation was exactly what I'd expected: profit margins, traditional methods, thinly veiled disdain for trendy sustainable practices that cut into quarterly earnings. The industry has thrived on proven methods, he concluded. Why fix what isn't broken? Polite applause. Then my turn. I took the stage where Vincent still lingered, expecting me to wait for him to clear off. Instead, I began speaking while he gathered his materials, forcing him to scramble. Mr. Caldwell asks why fix what isn't broken. I began. I ask, why accept broken as normal? The presentation unfolded with surgical precision. Every sustainable project Nexus had completed in the past year, with profit margins that made Vincent's traditional models look anemic, community testimonials he'd never bother collecting, innovation partnerships with tech companies while Caldwell still used paper blueprints. Some people, I said, finding Vincent in the audience, his coffee cup frozen halfway to his lips, believe leadership means maintaining the status quo. Others believe it means building a better future. The slides showed Nexus's explosive growth, the client list that read like Caldwell's, but younger, more diverse, more profitable, the sustainability awards, the magazine covers he'd always chased but never caught. In 18 months, I continued, Nexus Enterprises has become the fastest-growing development firm in the region. We've proven that ethical and profitable aren't opposing forces, they're multipliers. Then the killing blow, a photo of our newest acquisition, the Bradford Building, Caldwell Associates' original headquarters, which they'd been forced to sell to cover cash flow problems. We're honored to preserve this historic building, I said, transforming it into affordable housing for the community that supported its original owners. Some things deserve better than being torn down for profit. The audience erupted, not polite applause, but genuine enthusiasm. Young developers approached with business cards, established firms with partnership offers, journalists with interview requests. But I only watched Vincent, sitting frozen as his name tag, the one marking him as an industry leader, slipped from his jacket and landed in his coffee cup with a small splash. How? He cornered me during the break, his composure shattered. You were nobody, a helper, a supporter. I was never nobody, I corrected. You just couldn't see past your own reflection. Every time you blocked me, I learned. Every meeting you excluded me from, I studied. Every promotion you denied, I grew hungrier. Your father is welcome at Nexus anytime, I cut him off. Unlike Caldwell Associates, we don't punish people for their associations, only for their choices. The summit continued for 2 more days. Vincent left after the first, claiming illness. Harrison found me at the closing gala, drunk enough to be honest. He's selling, he whispered, my uncle. looking for buyers. The company's hemorrhaging clients to you. I thought about it, buying the company that had rejected me, absorbing it into what I'd built from that rejection. Tell him Nexus will consider it, I decided, but only if he agrees to stay on, as a junior consultant, in a support role. Harrison laughed, bitter and knowing, he'll never agree to that. Then he'll learn what I did, I said. Sometimes the best thing that can happen is being forced to start over, to prove what you're really worth when no one's watching. My father called that night, first time in 6 months. I'm proud of you, he said simply, and I'm sorry, for not standing up to him, for letting him diminish you. You taught me the business, I replied. Vincent taught me the rest, about power, perception, and patience. In his way, he was the perfect teacher. You could have destroyed him completely. I could have, I agreed, but some people aren't meant for destruction, others are meant for building. He helped me recognize which category I fall into. A year later, Caldwell Associates quietly closed. Vincent retired to Florida, his LinkedIn profile scrubbed of his famous quotes about leadership and knowing one's place. Nexus Enterprises moved into their building, our building now, preserving what was worth keeping and renovating the rest. My office, the corner suite Vincent had occupied for 20 years, overlooked the city we were helping reshape. On my desk, in a small frame, I kept his name tag, the one that had fallen into his coffee when he realized the supporter he'd dismissed had become everything he'd claimed she couldn't be. Some people, it turns out, are meant for leadership. They just need someone to tell them they aren't, to light the fire that forges them into what they were always meant to become.